My husband thought his affair was his greatest secret. He was obsessed with his mistress, certain that he could have everything without losing anything. Then one stormy night, I smiled, took off my wedding ring, and threw it into the darkness. What happened next was impossible. A mysterious message appeared. A woman emerged from the shadows, and one by one, every lie he had ever buried came back to face him. By sunrise, he would discover that some betrayals cost far more than a marriage, and some debts refused to stay unpaid. Stay with me until the end, because the final judgment waiting for my husband was more terrifying than anything either of us could have imagined. I still remember the sound of the rain that evening. It tapped softly against the tall glass windows of our penthouse. The city below shimmered with blurred lights. The air smelled of expensive perfume and wet concrete. I stood alone in the dining room. A candle flickered beside a dinner that had long gone cold. My fingers traced the edge of my wedding ring. The gold felt strangely heavy, like a chain, like a warning. The clock on the wall ticked louder with every passing minute. 10 o'clock, then 11, then nearly midnight. The elevator finally hummed. A metallic groan echoed through the silent apartment. My stomach tightened. The doors slid open. My husband stepped out. His shirt carried the faint scent of a woman's perfume. Sweet, floral, fresh, not mine. His eyes widened when he saw me waiting. For a brief moment, guilt crossed his face. Then it vanished, replaced by something colder, something careless. "I thought you would be asleep," he said. His voice sounded distant, as if he had already left me behind. I smiled, a small smile. Calm, steady. His shoulders relaxed. He believed I knew nothing. He believed he was safe. I watched him loosen his tie. I watched him place his phone on the marble counter. The screen lit up. A message appeared. A heart. Then another. A photograph followed. A young woman smiling beside him, her hand resting on his chest, the same chest where I once rested my head. He snatched the phone away. Too late. The room felt colder. Yet my smile remained. That seemed to disturb him more than anger ever could. "Aren't you going to say something?" he asked. The candlelight danced across his face, making strange shadows beneath his eyes. I slowly removed my wedding ring. The metal left a pale mark on my finger, a circle of faded devotion. His expression shifted. Confusion, unease, fear. I walked toward the open balcony. The wind rushed inside, cold and sharp. Far below, traffic crawled through the streets like glowing insects. My husband followed. His footsteps quickened. "What are you doing?" His voice cracked. For the first time that night, I held the ring between two fingers. The gold caught the city lights. Tiny sparks flashed across its surface. Memories flooded my mind. Promises, lies, years wasted. Then I opened my hand. The ring disappeared into the darkness. Gone, swallowed by the night. My husband stared over the railing. His face drained of color. A strange silence settled between us. Even the rain seemed to stop. Then he laughed nervously. A hollow sound. A frightened sound. "It is only a ring," he said. But his eyes remained fixed on the darkness below. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And suddenly I saw a man chasing an illusion. A man who believed desire was love. A man who had traded loyalty for excitement. He turned away from the balcony. His hands trembled. The confidence he wore every day had vanished. The apartment felt different now. Larger. Emptier. As though something invisible had left with that ring. Then his phone vibrated again. The sound sliced through the silence. He glanced at the screen. His face tightened. The color disappeared completely. A second message appeared. Then a third. Then a fourth. His mistress was sending photographs. Documents. Bank statements. Private messages. Information that no outsider should ever possess. His breathing became uneven. A cold sheen of sweat appeared on his forehead. I could hear every shaky breath, every swallow, every tiny movement. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, deep and distant. The screen illuminated his terrified eyes. Then one final image arrived. A photograph taken inside our home. Inside our bedroom. Taken only 2 nights earlier. My husband stared at it in horror, because neither of us had seen anyone there. And in the dark reflection of the bedroom mirror stood a shadowy figure neither of us recognized. His hands shook so violently that the phone slipped from his grasp. The device struck the marble floor with a sharp crack. The screen remained lit. The image remained visible. And as we both stared at it, the figure in the reflection appeared to be standing a little closer than before. The apartment suddenly felt freezing. The candle extinguished itself. Darkness swallowed the room. Then a slow creaking sound came from the hallway leading to our bedroom. A hallway that had been completely empty only seconds earlier. My husband turned toward the sound. His face twisted with dread. Another creak followed, closer this time, followed by the faint sound of footsteps moving across the wooden floor. The footsteps continued, slow, measured, heavy. Each step echoed through the dark hallway. The sound seemed impossible. We lived alone. No guests. No family. No staff at this hour. Yet someone was walking toward us. My husband took a step back. Then another. His breathing filled the room. Fast. Uneven. Panicked. The broken phone still glowed on the marble floor. Its pale light stretched across the ceiling. I looked toward the hallway. The darkness there seemed thicker than the rest of the apartment. Almost alive. Another step. Closer. The wooden floor groaned. My husband whispered my name. His voice sounded weak, like a frightened child. I did not answer. My eyes remained fixed on the hallway. A cold draft swept through the apartment. The temperature dropped so quickly that goosebumps spread across my arms. The rain returned. Harder this time. The windows rattled under the force of the storm. Lightning flashed outside. For a brief second the hallway lit up. Empty. Nothing there. Then darkness swallowed it again. My husband rushed toward the light switch. His trembling fingers slammed against the panel. Nothing happened. The lights remained dead. A terrible silence followed. Then came another sound. A faint laugh. Low. Soft. Almost playful. It drifted from somewhere deep inside the apartment. My husband froze. His face became pale as paper. The laugh came again. Longer this time. Moving closer. The smell of perfume suddenly filled the air. The same perfume that lingered on his clothes. The scent of his mistress. Sweet. Overwhelming. Sickening. His eyes widened. I know that smell, he whispered. The realization struck him like a hammer. The laughter stopped. The silence became unbearable. Then a door slammed. The sound exploded through the apartment. My husband jumped. The noise had come from our bedroom. The same room from the photograph. The same room where the shadow had appeared. Thunder crashed outside. The entire building seemed to shake. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then his phone vibrated again. The cracked screen flickered. A new message appeared. Only 3 words. Look behind you. My husband stared at the screen. His lips parted. His body became rigid. Slowly, very slowly, he turned around. I followed his gaze. At the far end of the hallway stood a woman. Her figure was barely visible. Motionless. Watching. Her dark hair covered most of her face. Water dripped from her clothing. A puddle formed beneath her feet. The smell of perfume grew stronger. My husband stumbled backward. His knees nearly gave out. No, he whispered. No. The woman took 1 step forward. Then another. The sound of dripping water echoed across the floor. Her movements felt unnatural. Slow. Jerky. As if she was learning how to walk. Lightning flashed again. This time her face became visible. My husband let out a strangled gasp. I felt my stomach tighten. The woman looked exactly like his mistress. Every detail. Every feature. Every expression. But something was terribly wrong. Her skin was gray. Her eyes were completely black. And a deep crack ran across her forehead, like shattered porcelain. The woman smiled. A wide smile. Far too wide. My husband backed into the kitchen counter. His hands searched blindly behind him, looking for support, looking for escape. The woman continued walking. Step by step. Drip. 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 The apartment seemed to shrink around us. The walls felt closer. The air heavier. The darkness deeper. My husband grabbed a vase and threw it. The glass shattered against the wall. The woman never flinched. She kept moving. Her black eyes remained fixed on him. Only him. Then she spoke. Her voice sounded distorted, like several voices speaking at once. You promised forever. My husband shook his head violently. Fear poured from every inch of him. I do not know what you are. The woman smiled again. You know exactly who I am. The cracked phone vibrated once more. Another image appeared, then another, then dozens more. Photographs flooded the screen. Photographs of secret meetings, hotel rooms, hidden gifts, lies, betrayals, every secret he had ever hidden, every deception, every stolen moment. His entire double life spread before him. The woman stopped only a few feet away. The room felt frozen. The candle smoke twisted through the air, forming strange shapes. My husband looked trapped, cornered, broken. For the first time since I had known him, the arrogant confidence was gone. The charm was gone. Only terror remained. Then the woman slowly raised one hand. A ring rested in her palm. My wedding ring. The same ring I had thrown from the balcony. Rainwater dripped from its surface. My husband stared at it in disbelief. His mouth hung open. The balcony was 30 floors above the street. Nobody could have retrieved it. Nobody. Yet there it was, resting in her hand. The gold gleamed under the pale light. The woman extended the ring toward him. You threw away loyalty. Her voice echoed through the apartment. You chose obsession. My husband began to cry, quietly at first, then openly. His shoulders shook. His entire body trembled. Regret flooded his face. Raw. Painful. Too late. Far too late. The woman closed her fingers around the ring. A violent gust of wind exploded through the apartment. Glass shattered. Pictures crashed from the walls. The hallway darkness surged forward like a living wave. The floor beneath us trembled. And somewhere deep inside the apartment, a door slowly began to open. The door continued opening. Slowly, relentlessly. The hinges groaned. A long, painful sound, like metal scraping against bone. The darkness beyond the doorway looked unnatural. Thick, endless, deeper than any ordinary shadow. A chill settled into my chest. The air carried the scent of damp earth, old wood, and something rotten, something buried. My husband pressed himself against the kitchen counter. His eyes never left the doorway. The woman stood perfectly still now. Her black eyes reflected nothing. No fear, no anger, no mercy, only judgment. Thunder rolled overhead. The windows trembled. Rain hammered against the glass. The city lights outside flickered. For a moment I thought the entire skyline had gone dark. The apartment seemed cut off from the world, as if we existed somewhere else entirely, somewhere forgotten. The doorway opened wider. A faint glow emerged from within. Not bright, not warm. A pale gray light, cold and lifeless. Shapes moved inside it. Vague figures, dozens of them, standing shoulder to shoulder, watching, waiting. My husband shook his head. His breathing became frantic. No! The word escaped as a whisper. One of the shapes stepped forward, then another, and another. Their forms remained blurred, hidden by the strange light, yet each movement sent a wave of dread through the room. The woman finally lowered her hand. The wedding ring vanished from her palm, gone, as though it had never existed. Then she pointed toward the doorway. My husband followed her gesture. A terrible realization spread across his face. He recognized something, or someone. The first figure emerged from the gray light. A young woman, beautiful, elegant. Her face carried deep sadness, not anger, not hatred, sadness. She looked directly at my husband. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He stared at her, confused, terrified. Then recognition struck. Years ago, before our marriage, there had been another woman, someone he had promised forever, someone he had abandoned without explanation, someone whose heart he had shattered. The young woman took one step forward, then faded into the darkness. Another figure emerged. An older man. His expression was weary, disappointed. His eyes remained fixed on my husband. Again recognition appeared. A former business partner. A friend. Someone betrayed for money. Someone discarded when no longer useful. The man slowly disappeared. Then another figure appeared. And another. And another. An endless procession. Faces from every chapter of his life. People he had used. People he had deceived. People he had forgotten. Each carried the same expression. Disappointment. Pain. Regret. My husband sank to his knees. Tears streamed down his face. The weight of every choice seemed to crush him. The apartment grew colder. The pale light spread farther into the room. The shadows stretched. twisting across the walls, reaching toward him. A faint whisper filled the air. Then another. Then hundreds. Thousands. Voices overlapping. The sound became unbearable. Not screaming. Not shouting. Only whispers. Soft accusations. Broken promises. Forgotten names. Lost trust. The whispers surrounded us. Every corner of the apartment echoed with them. My husband covered his ears. It changed nothing. The voices continued, growing louder, growing closer. The woman with black eyes never moved. She simply watched, like a silent witness, the judge of everything. Lightning exploded outside. The flash illuminated the room. For one brief second I saw something horrifying. The walls were covered in reflections. Not mirrors. Reflections. Every surface showed a different version of my husband. One reflection showed him lying. Another showed him cheating. Another showed him laughing while someone cried. Hundreds of moments. Hundreds of sins. Displayed all around him. The light vanished. Darkness returned. My husband let out a broken sob. The whispers stopped instantly. The sudden silence felt worse. Far worse. Then came a single voice. Clear. Cold. Close. What do you regret most? The question echoed through the apartment. My husband trembled. His lips moved. No words came out. The voice repeated the question. Louder. What do you regret most? His shoulders shook violently. His eyes darted around the room. Looking for escape. Looking for mercy. Neither existed. Finally he answered. Barely audible. I regret losing her. The moment the words left his mouth, the apartment became silent. Completely silent. Even the storm outside seemed to vanish. The woman tilted her head. The blackness in her eyes deepened. The voice returned. One final time. You regret losing her. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Accusing. Then every figure in the doorway stepped forward at once. The gray light surged across the room. The whispers returned. Stronger than before. And within them I heard the truth. Not regret for betrayal. Not regret for lies. Not regret for the pain he caused. Only regret that he had lost what he wanted. The woman smiled. A terrible smile. The kind that appears when a final judgment has been reached. The shadows climbed the walls, the ceiling, the floor, encircling him from every direction. My husband screamed. The sound echoed through the apartment. Raw. Desperate. Animal. The gray figures continued advancing. Step after step. Without hurry. Without hesitation. As though they had all the time in the world. The storm suddenly returned. Thunder shook the building. The windows exploded inward. Rain flooded the room. Wind roared through the apartment. Yet none of the figures moved. None of them blinked. They kept approaching. My husband crawled backward. His hands slipped across the wet marble floor. His eyes locked onto mine. For the first time in years, I saw genuine fear. Genuine regret. He reached toward me, begging without words. But the distance between us felt impossible to cross. Then the woman with black eyes spoke again. And the moment her voice filled the room, every light in the city outside vanished at once, leaving only darkness beyond the shattered windows. And something enormous began moving within that darkness. Something watching the apartment from far above the clouds. The thing beyond the clouds moved slowly, far too slowly, as if it knew there was no escape. Its outline appeared only when lightning flashed. A vast shape, impossible to measure, impossible to understand. Each glimpse lasted less than a second, yet every glimpse revealed something different. At first it looked human, then it looked like a mountain, then a giant eye, then something with countless arms stretching across the sky. The darkness swallowed it again. My husband stared through the shattered windows, his face twisted with terror. The rain soaked his clothes. His hair clung to his forehead. His entire body shook uncontrollably. The woman with black eyes remained motionless. The gray figures filled the apartment. Their silent presence pressed against the air, making it difficult to breathe. The whispers returned. Softer now, almost gentle, like distant voices carried by the wind. My husband crawled toward the balcony. His movements were desperate, clumsy, broken. He slipped on the wet floor. His shoulders struck the marble. The sound echoed sharply. Still he kept moving. The enormous shape outside seemed to notice. The clouds shifted. A deep vibration rolled across the sky. Not thunder, Something else. Something alive. The vibration traveled through the building. Through the floor. Through my bones. Every glass surface shattered. Every remaining light burst. The apartment plunged into darkness once more. Only the gray glow from the doorway remained. My husband reached the balcony railing. His fingers wrapped around the cold metal. For one brief moment, he looked ready to jump. Ready to flee. Ready to choose any escape. Then he looked down. And froze. I slowly approached. The rain stung my skin. Cold water dripped from my hair. When I looked over the edge, my breath caught. The street below was gone. The city was gone. There were no cars. No buildings. No lights. Only darkness. Endless darkness. The tower seemed suspended above an abyss, as though reality itself had vanished. My husband let out a frightened cry. He stumbled away from the railing. The gray figures took another step forward. The woman finally moved again. Her bare feet crossed the wet floor. Each step left a dark footprint behind. She stopped directly in front of him. Their faces were only inches apart. My husband could barely breathe. His eyes overflowed with tears. The woman raised one hand. A cold silence filled the apartment. Then she touched his forehead. The effect was immediate. His body became rigid. His eyes widened. The pupils vanished. Only white remained. A horrible gasp escaped his lips. Then memories began appearing around us. Not reflections. Not images. Living memories. Floating in the air. Scenes from his life surrounded the room. I watched him standing beside his mistress, promising her things he never intended to give. I watched him lie to me without hesitation. I watched him smile while destroying trust. Memory after memory emerged. One after another. The apartment transformed into a maze of regrets. The air vibrated with emotion. Shame. Greed. Desire. Cowardice. Every hidden truth exposed. My husband screamed. The sound echoed through every memory. The woman never blinked. Never looked away. She forced him to watch everything. Every consequence. Every wound he created. Every life he altered. Hours seemed to pass. Perhaps only minutes. Time felt meaningless. The storm outside continued raging. The giant shape remained beyond the clouds. Watching. Waiting. The gray figures never moved again. They simply observed. Witnesses to a judgment long overdue. Then one final memory appeared. Unlike the others. This one felt different. Brighter. Warmer. I recognized it instantly. Our wedding day. Sunlight filled the church. Flowers lined the aisle. Music drifted softly through the room. I looked younger. Hopeful. Happy. My husband watched the memory with trembling lips. The younger version of himself smiled. A genuine smile. A sincere one. Perhaps the last sincere smile he ever gave me. The memory continued. I saw him place the ring on my finger. I saw the promises. The vows. The dreams we shared. Then something changed. The memory froze. Everyone stopped moving. The guests. The priest. The musicians. Even I became motionless. Only the younger version of my husband remained alive inside the memory. He turned slowly and looked directly at the older man kneeling on the apartment floor. Shock filled his face. Disappointment followed. Then sorrow. The younger man shook his head, as though ashamed of what he had become. My husband collapsed. His strength abandoned him. He sobbed openly. The sound broke something inside the silence. The younger version stepped closer. Closer. Until he stood face to face with the man he would become. Then he spoke. His voice was calm. His voice was clear. When did you stop loving her? The question cut deeper than any scream. My husband tried to answer. No words came. The younger version asked again. When did you stop loving her? Tears streamed down my husband's face. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Finally he whispered the truth. I never stopped. The apartment became still. Completely still. The storm ceased. The whispers vanished. Even the enormous shape outside stopped moving. The woman with black eyes stared at him. Unblinking. Silent. Then for the first time, a crack appeared in her expression. Not anger. Not cruelty. Something closer to sadness. A single tear rolled down her pale cheek. And somewhere within the darkness beyond the shattered windows, a massive eye slowly opened. The eye filled the sky. Vast. Ancient. Silent. Its pale iris glowed through the storm clouds. casting a strange silver light across the apartment. Every shadow retreated, every whisper disappeared. The gray figures lowered their heads, as if acknowledging a presence greater than themselves. My husband remained on his knees, broken, exhausted, his tears mixed with the rainwater spreading across the floor. The woman with black eyes slowly stepped back. For the first time since she appeared, she looked uncertain. The giant eye stared directly at him. Not at me, not at the figures, only him. The weight of that gaze felt unbearable. My husband trembled violently, his hands pressed against his chest, as though his heart could not endure another second. Then the eye blinked. The entire building shook. A deep pulse traveled through the air. Every memory surrounding us shattered like glass. Fragments of the past scattered into darkness. The wedding day vanished. The lies vanished. The betrayals vanished. Only the present remained. Cold, raw, unforgiving. The woman looked toward me. Her expression softened. The cracks across her face slowly faded. The darkness in her eyes receded. For a brief moment she appeared completely human. Young, beautiful, sad. Then she turned back toward my husband. You still love her. Her voice no longer sounded distorted. It sounded heartbreakingly normal. My husband lowered his head. Yes. The answer came immediately, without hesitation, without defense, without pride. The woman closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek, then another. I loved you too. The words struck him harder than any punishment. His face twisted with agony. The realization crushed him, not because he loved her, not because she loved him, but because he had destroyed everything he touched. Every person, every promise, every chance. The giant eye continued watching. Silent, patient. The woman stepped closer. Rainwater dripped from her hair. Her pale fingers brushed his cheek. He flinched, not from fear, from shame. You searched for happiness. Her voice trembled. But you left sorrow behind wherever you walked. The apartment grew warmer. The unnatural cold finally began to fade. The gray figures slowly dissolved into mist. One by one, their forms becoming transparent. The doorway behind them started closing. The pale light weakened. The abyss below the balcony faded. The distant city lights gradually returned. Cars reappeared. Buildings reappeared. Reality stitched itself back together. Yet the eye remained, watching from beyond the clouds. The woman smiled sadly. Then she stepped backward, toward the fading doorway. My husband reached toward her, his hand shaking. Wait! His voice cracked. She paused. The rain softened. The storm weakened. Everything seemed to hold its breath. I am sorry. The words escaped him. Small. Fragile. Late. The woman studied his face, searching for something. Perhaps truth. Perhaps regret. Perhaps a man who no longer existed. Then she nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not acceptance. Only acknowledgement. The difference felt important. Very important. She continued stepping backward. The doorway narrowed behind her. The pale light dimmed. Soon only her silhouette remained visible. Then she spoke one final sentence. The people you hurt carry scars you never see. The doorway closed. The light vanished. She was gone. The apartment fell silent. The eye remained for several moments longer. Motionless. Endless. Then the clouds slowly swallowed it. Darkness reclaimed the sky. The storm ended. The city lights burned steadily below. The world returned. Or seemed to. My husband remained kneeling on the floor. His shoulders slumped. His face hollow. Years older than before. The silence stretched. Minutes passed. Neither of us spoke. The shattered apartment surrounded us. Broken glass. Fallen pictures. Rainwater pooling across the marble. Evidence of something impossible. Evidence of something neither of us could explain. Then his phone lit up. A single notification appeared. No name. No number. Only a message. 3 simple words. This was Mercy. The screen immediately went dark. My husband stared at it, frozen. The color drained from his face again. His fingers trembled. Because he understood. So did I. Whatever had happened tonight. Whatever force had judged him. Whatever had looked through that enormous eye. It could have done far worse. The realization settled heavily over the room. My husband slowly lowered the phone. He looked around the apartment. At the destruction. at the broken remnants of his life. Then his gaze found me. For a long moment neither of us moved. I saw regret in his eyes. Real regret. Not fear of consequences. Not fear of exposure. Something deeper. Something painful. But regret changes nothing. The years remained gone. The trust remained broken. The wounds remained real. Outside, the first light of dawn appeared on the horizon. A pale band of gold, spreading across the darkness. The night was ending. The nightmare should have ended with it. Yet as sunlight crept into the apartment, a faint reflection appeared in one remaining piece of unbroken glass. I noticed it first. A small detail, easy to miss. The reflection showed the room exactly as it was. The shattered floor, the broken furniture, my husband kneeling, me standing near the balcony. Everything appeared normal, except for one thing. In the reflection, someone stood behind my husband. A tall figure, motionless, watching, its face hidden in shadow, its eyes glowing faintly silver. I turned immediately. Nothing was there. The space behind him was empty, completely empty. My pulse quickened. Slowly, very slowly, I looked back at the glass. The figure remained, unmoving, patient, waiting. And beneath its reflection, words began appearing across the cracked surface, written by an invisible hand. One letter at a time. The account is not yet settled. The words remained on the glass. Sharp, clear, impossible. The account is not yet settled. My husband stared at the reflection. His face lost what little color remained. The silver-eyed figure stood motionless behind him. Tall, thin, silent, like a shadow given form. The dawn light continued spreading across the city. Golden rays touched the broken windows, the wet floor, the shattered furniture. Yet the figure remained untouched by the light. A darkness that refused to fade. I blinked. The reflection vanished. The glass showed only the ruined apartment. Nothing more. Nothing less. My husband released a shaky breath. For a moment it seemed over. For a moment the nightmare appeared finished. Then a knock came from the front door. 3 slow knocks. Heavy. Deliberate. The sound echoed through the apartment. My husband jumped. Every muscle in his body tightened. The knock came again. 3 more times. Neither of us moved. Nobody should have been there. The storm had ended only moments ago. The elevators had been silent. The building remained quiet. Yet someone stood outside, waiting. The third set of knocks sounded. Louder. More demanding. My husband looked toward the entrance. Fear returned to his eyes. Not ordinary fear. The fear of a man who expects judgment. The fear of a man who knows something is coming. Slowly, carefully, he approached the door. The floor creaked beneath each step. The apartment felt unnaturally silent. Even the city noises seemed distant, muted, as though the world itself was listening. He reached the door, his trembling hand wrapped around the handle. For several seconds he hesitated. Then he opened it. The hallway outside was empty, completely empty. No visitors, no neighbors, no footsteps, nothing. Only a small black envelope resting on the floor. My husband stared at it. The sight disturbed him more than any stranger could have. He bent down, picked it up. The paper felt old, worn, ancient. Its surface carried no name, no address, only a silver symbol stamped into the center. A single eye, the same eye that had filled the sky. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, yellowed with age. He unfolded it slowly. His breathing stopped. I stepped closer. The page contained a list. Names. Dozens of names. Some crossed out, some untouched. Beside each name was a date, a location, and a brief description. My husband scanned the page. Recognition spread across his face. Every name belonged to someone from his past. Former friends, former partners, former lovers, people he had wronged, people he had forgotten, people whose lives he had damaged. The final name on the list remained uncrossed. My name, written in dark ink. A chill passed through me. My husband dropped the paper. His knees nearly gave out again. Then we heard it. A faint sound, coming from inside the apartment. Not from the hallway, not from outside, from somewhere within our home. A ticking sound. Soft, rhythmic, steady. Tick, tick, tick. My husband looked around frantically. The sound continued. Tick, tick, tick. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. The kitchen, the bedroom, the living room, the walls themselves, like dozens of clocks hidden throughout the apartment. Yet we owned none. The sound grew louder. Tick, tick, tick. My husband followed it toward the bedroom. The same bedroom from the photograph. The same bedroom where the nightmare had begun. The door stood half open. Darkness lingered inside despite the rising sun. The ticking came from within. Reluctantly, he stepped forward. I followed. The air felt strange, heavy, charged, as if a storm remained trapped inside the room. The ticking became louder. Tick, tick, tick. We entered together. Everything appeared normal at first. The bed, the dresser, the curtains. Nothing seemed out of place. Then my husband noticed the mirror. A large mirror mounted on the wall opposite the bed. The surface was covered in condensation, tiny droplets sliding downward, as though the glass had been exposed to freezing temperatures. The ticking came from behind it. My husband approached, each step slower than the last. The ticking accelerated. Tick, 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 tick. Suddenly, words began forming on the fog surface. Invisible fingers traced each letter. Slowly, methodically, my husband watched in horror. The message grew line by line. You asked for desire. You chose obsession. You abandoned devotion. Now pay attention. The final words appeared. Then the condensation vanished instantly. The mirror became perfectly clear. And what appeared inside it made my blood run cold. The reflection did not show our bedroom. It showed another room. A narrow room. Windowless. Silent. Filled with rows of chairs. Every chair occupied. Every seat taken. Dozens upon dozens of people sat facing forward. Motionless. Watching something unseen. The room stretched endlessly into darkness. And among the seated figures, I recognized faces. The gray figures from the doorway. The people from my husband's past. Every person he had hurt. Every person he had betrayed. Every person he had left carrying pain. They sat in silence, waiting, watching. Then every head turned at once. Their eyes locked onto my husband. The ticking stopped. The room beyond the mirror grew darker. One chair remained empty, a chair positioned directly in the center. A chair waiting for someone. And beneath it, written in silver letters, was my husband's name. My husband stared at the empty chair. The color drained from his face. The people inside the mirror never blinked, never moved. They simply watched, waiting. The chair remained empty, waiting for a choice, waiting for an answer. The silence stretched, heavy, unforgiving. Then something unexpected happened. The silver letters beneath the chair slowly changed. My husband's name faded, one letter at a time. The room beyond the mirror darkened. The seated figures became shadows, and a new message appeared. Not all debts require punishment. Some require responsibility. The words glowed softly. The ticking never returned. My husband fell to his knees, not from fear, not this time, from understanding. For the first time since I had known him, he stopped looking for excuses, stopped looking for escape, stopped looking for someone else to blame. Tears rolled down his face. Quiet tears, honest tears, the kind that come when a person finally sees the truth. The mirror brightened. The endless room vanished. The empty chair disappeared. Only our reflection remained. Two people standing among the ruins of a broken life. The message faded. The glass became ordinary once more. Nothing supernatural remained. The apartment grew warm. The sunlight strengthened. Golden light spilled across the floor, across the shattered glass, across the water left behind by the storm. The nightmare was over. The judgment was over. Only reality remained. And reality was difficult enough. My husband slowly stood, his shoulders slumped beneath the weight of everything he had done. He looked at me. His eyes were full of regret, but also acceptance. He finally understood that some things cannot be repaired with apologies. Some wounds leave permanent scars. Some losses remain losses, no matter how deeply a person regrets them. I am sorry. His voice was barely above a whisper. I believed him. For the first time in a very long time. I truly believed him. But belief was not enough. Love had been broken. Trust had been shattered. And some stories do not return to where they began. I walked past him, Past the ruined bedroom. Past the shattered living room. Past the broken memories that filled the apartment. The morning air felt fresh against my skin. The city below looked beautiful. Alive. Full of possibility. Behind me, my husband remained standing in silence. A man forced to face himself at last. A man left with his choices, and with their consequences. Weeks later, the divorce papers were signed. There were no arguments, no desperate promises, no dramatic scenes, only acceptance. The mistress vanished from his life. The obsession that once consumed him dissolved like smoke. In the end, it had never been love, only desire wearing the mask of love, and desire never lasts. Regret does. Months passed, then years. I built a new life, a peaceful life, one free from lies, one free from fear. Sometimes I would hear news about him. He spent years making amends, helping people he had wronged, trying to repair what could still be repaired, not because he expected forgiveness, not because he expected reward, because he finally understood responsibility. One autumn evening, many years later, a letter arrived at my home. The handwriting was familiar. Inside was a single page, nothing more. It read, "You once threw away a ring. I thought you threw away me. Now I understand. You threw away the lie I had become. Losing you was the greatest regret of my life. But facing that regret saved what remained of my soul. Thank you. Goodbye." I folded the letter carefully, then placed it inside a drawer, not as a memory of pain, as a reminder that choices matter, that loyalty matters, that love without honesty becomes something dangerous. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky glowed with gold and crimson light. For a moment, the colors reflected in my window, and within that reflection, I thought I saw a familiar silver eye watching from the fading clouds. Calm, silent, satisfied. Then the last light of day disappeared. The reflection vanished. And for the first time since the night I threw away my wedding ring, I felt completely at peace. The end.